Hey everybody, I'm Jeff, and welcome to Tons of Fun. And it's an extra tons of fun tonight because we have Joshua Hanlon from he does some sort of Mega Constructs review channel. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna do our intro and then we'll get started. All right.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, there isn't any Canadians.
Where's Brian? Is he still eating hot peppers?
No.
Brian's being Brian.
Oh.
Ooh, Mike gets an executive producer shout out.
You usually direct these things, Josh. So
Hey, I didn't have a Bass. I don't have my Bass Pro shirt on. Sorry.
I know you let me down.
Oh. There's two types of shirts I got.
Best
Oh,
friend.
is me
Bass Pro.
created by?
Yeah.
Why did I get first billing? Oh, look, there's a Canadian in the chat. All right.
Alrighty. So Jeff BW is here, awesome builder. So this isn't going to be the typical let's bitch about Lego stream that we do. Instead, I'm going to ask Joshua Hanlon a whole bunch of questions, and Julian and Madeline are going to look bored, and Kirk's not going to say anything. So it shouldn't be that much of a change anyway. But
wait, so why am I here?
What?
I don't know.
Why am I here then?
Everybody asks that. Everybody asks what the point is of them being.
Kirk,
existing.
it's just your presence that really makes everything better.
Clearly.
It's a very comforting presence, Kirk. It's a very comforting,
The soothing
presence.
voice.
I
I
watched
see.
that. I watched that website creation ad you did just to sleep at night.
You can be your own boss, Kirk.
You can go your own way.
Oh boy.
All right. So, Julian or Maddie, do y'all have any questions for Joshua before I get into it? Or Kirk?
How about a comment or a compliment? Joshua?
Please do. I accept compliments
Did you
all
say
the time.
compliment? Don't do that. You guys big enough.
Your videos, have really helped me through a lot of tough times this year. You and Bricks are right up there. Also, my brother told me non-creepily that you have a travel channel.
That's right. Yeah, it's called Destinations of History. So it's places that my brother John and I have traveled to all around the world.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
he watched all of them and he said, you need to watch these too. And I said, maybe one day. I just know you as the Lego guy. So
So it's like travel/history. And basically we'll go to cool places that we've traveled to and record some info about kind of the history of that location, then also some travel tips. So if someone's going there themselves, they can figure out how much it costs, how to get in, that sort of thing. We actually, fun fact, have a video from every single continent on that channel, all 7 continents. Because we went to Antarctica in 2019 and recorded a video at this really cool historic whaling spot on Antarctica that's kind of very run down now, but used to be this massive center of whaling in the early 1900s.
Now, did you make snow angels while you were there?
Yes, we also built a snowman, and then got it in this. It was on this massive kind of like cliff overlooking the water in Antarctica. We've got some really cool photos there.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, it's a super unique place, very different than anywhere else we've been. So it was a fun trip.
That's cool. That's cool.
But thank you for the nice words. I appreciate that. Our goal is to put content out there that people can enjoy, and help liven up their life and their day a little bit. So I appreciate that.
I have one question actually. It just popped in my head because I think my brother will be watching this later when he has time. And he would want me to ask you this question. Okay, do you remember the time you went to Brick Fair and there was this guy did like an aliens mock and he had like 22 different ways to murder people murdered in his mock, and there was like blood on he had like fake blood everywhere.
Right. We've covered several different aliens.
I think I remember that mock.
I can't remember. I don't know if I remember that exact one. Sorry.
Oh, I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was nuts the way that you handled it because it was kind of awkward. Like there's a guy who he had made a minifigure like blow his head up.
Was it the guy he had? So there's a guy who's done a few different aliens builds over the years, and one of them is like a temple with a whole bunch of aliens on it. One of them was like a building with a bunch of rooms, and it's like the aliens are going around. Is that the one? Is that the one you're talking about? Okay, I know. Yes, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's like the
it was
the
really
goriest,
awkward. And it was
like the bloodiest build we've ever covered.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, like let's not get into too many details here. And he was like, and the aliens ripped the head off, and there's blood everywhere. And you're like, oh, look, there's some blood splatters on the ground. And you like covered it for like a good 10 minutes. Like you gave the guy a lot of time, but the whole time you could tell that like it was just like, ooh, like
those builds are really popular. Though one of them has over 1 million views on the channel, and yeah, he's done several variations on it. So the people really like them, but yeah, they are like very intense with the blood and gore.
The minifigures. Yeah. Anyways, okay, that's it. He would want to know what your thoughts were on that. So, because he showed me that video, and I was like, how did I miss this one? And then I watched it twice actually because I was like.
So and see, the thing is, at that point, I had never seen any of the Alien movies. Now I have, and so I probably would maybe have a slightly different reaction now. But like as we talk a lot about this on the Quarantine Cast, how I don't know anything about pop culture. So like a lot of those things like that we cover, I have not actually seen the source material for. So that's one reason I react.
That segues great. Good job on that, Josh. It's like we were born to do this. That segues into my question for Josh. I don't know, Maddie, I'm just going to step in here if you don't mind. So how have you, like, okay, comparatively speaking to the live streams you have done in the past, how do you specifically like or dislike? Okay, bye, Kurt. We'll see you later. Oh, welcome back.
What's with me being on full screen? What's with that? I left to go close my door and lock it because my brother was trying to get it and I didn't need it.
Oh, yeah, brothers do that.
Siblings, right?
I know.
So I'm going to finish the question. How much you do or don't like, and comparatively different, is the Quarantine Cast? How are you coping, or do you enjoy it, or or whatever?
Compared to like our convention content, or just
not your videos, but any other past live streams you've done. I know you've done some from Philly and stuff. I'm just enjoying.
So it's very like most live streams we do are pretty formal. So like in the early days of Beyond the Brick, when we were a podcast, which we did like over 150 episodes of, those were all very formal, like very interview driven, that style. So the Quarantine Cast is very, especially as it's evolved. So it started more formal, but as it's evolved now to where it is today, it's much less formal. It's much more just chatting.
And how do you feel as the consummate professional in this Lego community we call? how do you enjoy that or not?
I like it. So it's been a good break because it's the first time we've ever done kind of a consistent just for fun stream like that. So it's good to just be able to chat and just build and chat and not have anything too serious to do. So it's kind of a nice break. So I've enjoyed it. It's been a different type of content. Brian is like a professional at that type of content.
I was about to say, same question, Brian.
He's much better at that than I am.
You're muted.
Professional. Who's muted?
Very professional.
Yep. Except for when his friend says butt plug.
How much did Joshua, how much did Jeff pay you to be on here?
More than you can imagine.
Wow. $35 is a lot of money. I'm also glad to see your arc was completed this week. Congratulations.
I haven't seen it yet. So I'm hoping to watch that after the stream, actually. I'm hoping to watch it.
Well, that's why it's guest starring the U.S. agent.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, hi, Joshua. Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
We were just talking about all the Bob sightings we have. There's one.
Yeah, there's a Build a Bob here. Build a Bob.
There's this one. That's a poster.
I'll answer your question, Julian, if you want me to.
Absolutely.
I love interacting with the Beyond the Brick audience and Joshua every week, and Kirk when he shows up and is deciding to get his head out of the sand. It's been great. to be able to like just converse. And I've been more exposed to the community as well. Like I've been to these shows before, but was never really like, I don't know, as locked in as I was before. And what better YouTube channel to be on to like have a platform to discuss cool problems or not cool. Well, things going on in the community, either from professional designers to whoever, and just have conversation than on Beyond the Brick. So it's been a pleasure the entire time. And I am overwhelmingly shocked that the Hanlons have allowed me to show up week after week. And I am grateful every week that I'm invited to come back, and I get the email and I'm like, all right, I'm safe this week. Cool. I'm thankful they gave me a chance to, be on the show and bring more people on.
You're just waiting for the week that the email doesn't show up and you're like, well, I guess this is how it all ends.
Right. As long as you do it after Luigi, I don't care.
After
That's
Luigi. Fine. Oh, yeah.
That's it.
But what about before Peach's Castle? After Luigi, but before Peach's Castle?
All right. Well, we can hold on for Peach's Castle.
All right. So Joshua, bringing it back to Beyond the Brick. So it started as a look at Lego, and it was a podcast, right?
Oh, look at you doing your research.
Yeah. How the hell did you do a podcast called A Look at Lego and be like, I'm describing each stud right now? How did that work? Did it work successfully, or like? Did you have video that went along with it, or pictures, or how'd that work?
You mean how did we talk about builds and stuff on a podcast? Yeah, because the podcast was audio only, right? So it was kind of ironic that we called it A Look at Lego, and you couldn't. It was all audio.
You couldn't look at the Lego.
Cool. So that didn't really occur to me until later. I think after we changed the name.
But that's
why
great.
is everyone disappearing?
Because they don't want to be here. Okay.
What?
Anyways, so we did have to really so we would have photos pulled up of what we were talking about so we could see it, and then we would put links to that in like the show notes. But yeah, for someone listening, it probably was difficult to always pick up on what exactly we were talking about. I mean, at that point, a lot of the people listening were probably familiar. It was a small audience, so they were probably familiar with a lot of these builders we were talking to, so they probably had seen their creations before we interviewed these people, I imagine. So they would have been familiar. We had people like Tyler Kleitz on in the very early days. So, the very well-known builders in the community. So people would have been familiar with their creations and what they had done. And like Iron Builder, we had a lot of people involved in Iron Builder in the early episodes, which was always super interesting. We were just talking about that with Guy Himber on the Quarantine Cast. If you guys are watching, haven't seen what Iron Builder is and the crazy builds that come out of that, definitely Google that and find some of the builds, because there's some impressive stuff. But yeah, it probably was difficult for viewers to really get an eye for what exactly we were talking about.
But what an appreciation for people who are blind then, right?
Yeah.
I think we did a good job explaining it.
Yeah.
No, but that's a good point. That's that's an excellent point. What Maddie just brought up, like Lego is leaning more towards being accessible to, even blind people now, but like having a podcast as opposed to, watching a show where it's like, here, I'm holding up my mock, look how great it is. But you guys describing the set or describing the mock, even way back then, had to be awesome. So
and it was the only thing at the time where anyone was doing like in-depth interviews with builders. So there had been a show back in like 08, 09 called Lego and More Lego, LAML, really old podcast. And they had done something similar, and I'd heard some of their episodes, but they had, they had shut down by the time that we started A Look at Lego. And so when A Look at Lego was going, it was really the only show at that point that was doing anything like that, where you could get in-depth breakdowns with builders talking about their builds and just kind of what was going on in the community and that sort of thing. So I always thought that it was great because it kind of brought something new to the community, which has always been our goal.
All right, so you do the podcast, you move on from the podcast, and which one of you had the idea to be like, hey, we should record this and put it on DVD or whatever, or CD?
So the first thing we did was go to Brickworld Chicago. So about 6 months after we started, we went to Brickworld Chicago, and we did not do a Kickstarter project with any DVD that first year, because we really had no idea what we were doing, to be 100% honest. And so we didn't really know exactly what a Lego show would be like or anything like that. So we just thought, and I forget exactly how we first heard about Brick World, but we knew there was a show in Chicago, and then John knew that, you know, he had the camera experience, and so he knew that he could run the camera. I had really zero. I mean, I'd done some of the interviews on the podcast, but besides that, had no in front of camera experience. It also was completely unqualified to go and interview anyone or really do anything like that. But I had some kind of undeserved confidence that I could go do this. I've thought about it before. I think it's one of those things where, because I had no idea what I was getting myself into, then I had the confidence to do it, even though I really shouldn't have, and then just kind of blindly went into it.
It was so great. Like, I mean, you could tell that you were confident, but there was definitely been some very awkward moments, but you pushed through it. And that's one of the reasons why I really liked watching it. Like, you're like, okay, no one's here. Let's go on to the next one. I think they're trying to build this, but I don't know. And then you're like, yeah.
How old were you at the time, too?
I was 16.
Okay,
yeah,
so you're 16.
He's only 20 now.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's still way older than Kirk, who's only 11. So it's
I know.
That is not true. I'm 19.
Okay.
But yeah, so that first show then was just kind of a joint effort between me and John, going there and seeing what we could do, basically. And that's where we recorded our very first Great Ball Contraption video. We just saw that, and I think we're both kind of blown away and thought this is such a cool idea. And so we recorded a video there with some of the GBC builders. We covered a few other things. Those videos are actually, so the Look at Lego YouTube channel still exists today, actually. You can look, like, search it on YouTube and find all those old videos. Back then so for that very first show, we had just been to not the grand opening, but very shortly after it opened, Legoland Florida. So we had been there, and I picked up an orange Legoland Florida shirt. So that's the shirt I wore to that show, because from the very beginning, we were like, oh, well, we want something to stand out. Like, we have the red shirts today, which I think stand out nicely. But back then, we obviously didn't have those. So we were like, well, what's something like unique or different that we could wear? So there's like the bright orange Legoland Florida shirts that we have on in those videos.
That's awesome. All right, so you start filming, you start recording, you start doing all that stuff, and then people start to realize that you guys are the news crew that basically covers Lego.
This just in.
This just in.
No, and that's funny, and a lot of people, I don't know how many people know this when you mention news crew. So John's background is actually in TV news. So he worked during the years of the podcast that we were building up Beyond the Brick. He worked at a couple different TV stations here in South Bend in Indiana area, and then down in Indianapolis area. So he very much has that background and that approach to the way he thinks about content, and the way that we've kind of produced our content over the years has been very informed from that perspective. I think we've always taken more of like a professional approach than your typical kind of YouTuber approach would in a lot of ways, I think. And I think a lot of that is because we come from that background.
It's definitely something to strive for. Like, Brian and Mike have like kind of helped my little hand with like how to do things and everything else. Kirk just tells me to go to hell when I ask him for help. So, but Brian and Mike have been trying desperately to get my act together, and I will.
No, I'm getting to Kirk's point with you too. I'm getting.
No, I will have everyone know I do not do that at all. If Jeff has a question for me, I do answer it to the best of my ability.
He tells me to just, F off and doesn't talk to me anymore.
I like this changing ticker at the bottom, by the way. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, so you get the ball rolling. John, like, walks out of the office. Screw you, screw you, screw you. You're cool. I'm out.
Yes, that's so like John, if you've ever met him.
Yeah, I figured as much. And so you guys hit the road. You guys just start going all over the place, which is a nice text right off of my dad. And,
you know it.
And filming and everything else, and you get to see the world at such a young age, and like that's awesome. And you get to meet mock builders and Lego people and all this other crap, and like then suddenly, in the Lego community, you guys are the guys to like look to for like what's going on in conventions and things like that. Did you ever like have you stopped for a moment and you've gone and looked at your brother and go, what the hell did we just do? Like, has there been that moment of, what are we doing? Like, this is our life now? Like, I have a master's degree in history. You're a TV producer. Yet here we are at Kids Fest 2017. Like, I'm working on my doctorate for my thesis in history and archaeological finds, but let's take out the Demtron mock, I guess. Screw it.
There have definitely been moments when we've sat down, and mostly it's just to reflect on kind of how fortunate we've been and how blessed we've been to be able to do all of this stuff. Is usually what those moments kind of consist of, and just realizing, we think back to the early years. So like it started back in 2011, 2012, 2013, those very early times when it was very much just a hobby and we just did it for fun. I mean, honestly, it's mostly started because I was in high school and had a lot of time on my hands and didn't really have anything else to do. And I was interested in Lego. So I was like, why not? Let's give it a shot. But, back then had no idea where it would go and we've never really had like a overarching like goal in mind. So even now we really don't. It's basically just keep producing content. Our goal, I guess our one sort of overarching goal was just kind of keep going to new shows. So branch out into international shows, which we were able to do over the years and that sort of thing. But we have occasionally had those moments, and yeah, it's just nice to take time to reflect on everything that we've been able to do, and also in the midst of that, appreciate what everyone, how many people have helped us along the way. So first and foremost, our family has been like massively supportive. So our mom, especially, she does a lot. She's very organized, and she actually does a lot of the kind of behind the scenes paperwork for Beyond the Brick, and is a big help with that.
Lucky. You lucky dog.
Yeah. We have repaid her nicely. So like we took her and our dad. So we took our parents with us to Australia when we went there a few years ago. So we try to give back to them when we can. But yeah, that's been massively helpful. Just that they've been supportive and also helping with that, the paperwork and organizational side of stuff. And then just everybody in the Lego community, especially those early years, people who came on the podcast when nobody had heard of us and had hardly anyone listening. That was massively helpful.
So, Josh, I'm really tired of all these snowball questions, these little easy peasy answering.
All right, Julian, you hit him with the hard facts.
Hey, you're right. I want to know who your favorite builder in the community is. Number one, everybody else sucks. Go.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the praise for being the best builder on the Lego community. Thank you.
Wow, you read my mind, Brian. That all.
No.
Did he drop his mic? I think his mic just dropped. Good job, Brian.
You know how much I love all those custom Pokemon builds you do that I don't recognize.
Right.
So for me, as Jeff alluded to, history, specifically military history, is one of my great passions, something I really enjoy. And so those builders who do those types of builds are what I've always been drawn to the most. Yep. And honestly, if I had to pick a favorite builder from all of those, it'd probably be Dan Siskind, because he's done like the Missouri build, and just like the vision he has for both the builds he does and then what he's had his crew do there at Brickmania is just incredible. And then the official Brickmania kits that he's done over the years, not to mention he had the OG blacksmith shop first, one of the first fan designed Lego kits and all of that. So I mean, he's done so much. I think he'd have to be my favorite builder. Full disclosure, Brickmania is a sponsor, but that really doesn't.
Wait, what?
Wait, Dan Siskind's my favorite. Wow.
That really doesn't factor into my answer, and I think everyone who knows how much I'm into military history can agree that would make sense. But yeah, sorry to all of the like train builders and all the talented space builders and stuff. I do think those are
you
cool
don't
builds,
have to kiss their butt here. They don't watch. It's fine.
Just for me personally,
so it's fine.
The military stuff is definitely what I'm drawn to.
Nice.
Well, Brickmania is also living the dream too. Like, they were Dan set out and was like, I want to make Lego sets. So he started his own company, and it's just crazy as much stuff as they've done. So this is my next question to go in line with Bricksmith's question. Who's your least favorite builder?
You know I don't have a least favorite builder, Jeff.
We all have a least favorite. Mine is Kurt.
Yeah, you told me Kirk earlier before he got here.
I'm messing with you, Kirk.
I
I'm messing
definitely
with
don't
you,
have a
brother.
least favorite single builder, but there are certainly like genres and types of builds that have very little interest to me. So I've been pretty
Castles
vocal over
suck.
the years, certainly on the quarantine cast about Bionicle and how little interest I have in that. I don't think that's any secret there. So when I'm at a show and if there's like Bionicle stuff on display, I typically we might cover like one or two very select builds from that, but that just doesn't have a lot of interest to me. And the thing is, there's limited time at a show. We can't cover everything, and so at the end of the day, it is subjective to how we decide what we want to cover. It's going to be the things that John and I are drawn to, because it's not like we can just cover everything and we're purposefully skipping over stuff. There is limitations, and so if we're covering something, that means we're taking time away from doing something else.
So just to translate for Josh here, what he's saying is when he's at the conventions and your Bionicle gets knocked over and broken, it's him.
I would never harm anyone's build. Obviously, more power to you if that's what you enjoy building. But for the things I don't find as interesting, definitely Bionicle is one of those. I've gotten better at appreciating train layouts over the years. Or for many years, I didn't really care about train city layouts at all because I felt like they were all so similar. It was just like big loops of trains and then a whole bunch of buildings. Nothing ever really stood out to me from them because I'm not real into trains either. So that though, my opinion has kind of evolved on those, and I've started to appreciate them a little more.
You're not wrong because it's like, hey, here's all my modular buildings. This is my town. Okay,
well, they're even sometimes they're custom builds, but it still doesn't. I mean, sometimes there'll be funny builds, like it'll be a Culver's or a Whataburger or something like a restaurant or something like that. So some of that stuff is kind of cool, or somebody builds like a Toys R Us or something like that. But for the most part, it's just a big, large layout. So that doesn't always pique my interest.
Oh, Steve, look at her.
From Toto, the band, it's the hair that's doing it. It's the hair.
I thought that was the dog
my
from the
own
Wizard of Oz.
No, that is the name of the dog, but no.
Oh my god.
They're not talking to the dog.
Ugh.
They're not talking.
This is about him, not me. Take it off of me. Okay.
Gosh, you're gonna have to do better, buddy, if you're gonna be around here.
Just in correlation to the Bionicle comment, do you know how many people have reached out to me and said, I'm so surprised that Joshua snapped out of his shell when popping off about Bionicle? That was that was a moment. I don't think you realize that, but people really appreciate it because normally I'm the one that pops off and over exaggerates and just kind of pops. But that was your moment in that, just letting loose. And it was so out of character for your professionalism. It was incredible. And I commend you. And the community commends you.
It was very therapeutic. I've been holding a lot in for many years, so I think I needed it.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna go down the history line a bit more of Beyond the Brick. So you're doing the shows, and you're like, holy crap, I need help. You get another guy. He's kind of funny. He's not as funny as Brian, and then he leaves to go do his own thing because he wants to take his art in a different direction. I don't even remember that dude's name. Anyway, moving right along. So Brian has some bad luck with the Brick Show. You happen to be there. And then Brian at 3 a.m. gets roped into looking at everything with you on the convention floor.
It was 11 p.m. on Saturday night when I could have been at the clubs in D.C., but instead I was sitting there building a Lego set. Really? That's really what could have happened.
So how did you get more involved with Brian? Because, Brian's a lovable guy. He's a good dude. He's an all right person. But how did you know that he would be a right fit for the Beyond the Brick team?
We had met Brian previously. Sorry, what was that?
So there was an air about Brian at that time. People were like, Brian Saviano, you fool. So how did you deal with that? Did you just not give a crap? And
was there? I didn't realize that. I did not know that was an air.
Oh, okay, great. Fantastic.
I mean, we had met Brian, and I really liked his personality and the approach he took to the community and just the way he his energy and the way he talked about builds. That's something I've always recognized about myself. So with the professionality side of it comes the fact that I'm not always I don't always bring the most energy to like videos and things like that, and I realized that about myself.
Wait,
So
you don't bring the heat?
I've always tried to have other people there that kind of bring things to the table that I don't have. And so when we met Brian, it was clear. So that's another thing about the stuff we've done with Boone Langston over the years. So if anyone's met Boone, you see that like the energy he has that he puts off. So again, that's another example of this where I look for people that kind of bring something different that I don't necessarily provide. And Brian definitely does that. And so we had met him and had a chance to chat. And so when we needed someone for Brick Fair because the guy I did like the first half of the tour with was too young to stay for the adult hour. And so they kicked him out. And so then we were like, oh, well, we really can't finish. We can't do this tomorrow. We need to finish this tonight. And we saw Brian was just sitting there at like the check-in desk or whatever that area is there at Brick Fair. And we were like, well, he, especially like late at night, we knew we needed somebody who could bring some energy to this thing.
With Brian drinking a cold 45 and just a cigar in one hand and just.
Was this the video where you had like a muscular, like stouter guy with you? Is that Brian? Thinner Brian?
You mean the guy who did the first half of it with us?
No, the second half. I think I saw that because you guys you had said something about the adult night, and then there was another guy with you. Shorter hair.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah,
I don't know about
If he had sweatpants on, it was Brian.
So then Brian came in and he just immediately took over the stream. Or I mean the video. I mean just without hesitation, as if he owned the company. Just immediately, he several times he took the mic from me and I just had to walk away. I mean, I honestly was a little surprised.
The drama.
So that hope, in all fairness, it was midnight on a Saturday. A. B, it was the Nintendo builds that you knew nothing about. And I'm like, let me pop off on this mic real quick. I don't care how many subscribers you have. I don't care who you are. I'm passionate about this Nintendo build, and I'm going to let the world know. As simple as that.
Well, I mean, so
that's true.
I saw that one. Yep.
Yeah.
You think I'm muscular? I mean, these guys, you know.
My God, Maddie.
Ladies, he's single.
Very incredible.
God.
So the thing that I liked about that was like, so Joshua, don't get offended. When I would watch some of your old videos and I couldn't fall asleep, I would just pop one of those on and I was out like a light. Brian, when Brian came to it, I was like, this guy's got energy. He's got pizzazz. I love this guy. And then
you're comparing me to Jang. Hey, that's a great compliment.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
I love Django.
That's what people watch his videos to fall asleep. It's like ASMR.
Yeah. That's it. Sure.
No, I 100% agree, Jeff. Like that's why I said earlier what I was, how we try to work with people that bring that energy and kind of a different personality. Because John and I both, we just have a very, just like naturally much more professional approach to things, and so it's hard to always have that different type of energy there that people like Brian bring. So I'm glad it's worked out.
Absolutely. I am too. So you guys have basically conquered as far as Lego conventions and even just Lego reviews and just being like the news authority thanks to people like Brian, your brother, Kirk, who is playing on his phone and not really paying attention. It's fine.
Hey, look, I was supposed to do something else tonight, but
what?
Huh?
What were you going to do?
Okay, so I was supposed to end up watching Mortal Kombat with one of my friends tonight, but
that sounds like a better plan.
Watch what?
Mortal Kombat, the new movie just came out today.
Yeah, wait, that's already out?
It's not good.
I thought we had to wait till the next week for that.
No,
it came out today, April 23rd.
Oh, get over here. Okay.
He only says it once, and it's not good. He only says it once.
Why didn't you?
Not a good movie.
Watch it now.
Anywho. So, Lego stuff, you're doing the greatest thing in the world for a lot of people who can't make it to conventions because we're all watching, we're all enjoying. We are all screaming at Jonathan silently to point the camera where you're talking about rather than
Oh,
zooming out
I
far
need to
away.
address this. People do not appreciate nearly enough how difficult it is to do what John does at conventions, and and they also, I think they also don't realize like how we operate. So when we're at a convention, if you see us, we're just going around and we just walk up to someone, and in a lot of cases we've never met this person before, and we're like, hey, do you want to do an interview about this build? We like this build. So they are not prepared at all. We've never met them. We've maybe seen their build, but we don't know a lot about it if there's moving parts and things. So we don't always know exactly what they're going to be talking about. And then there's like zero prep. We're just like, start in with your name and then take us through the build. And that's how it works. And so because of that, as the build is going on, it's very difficult especially if they're jumping around between like, oh, and I put this thing over here and this thing over here and this minifig here. It's almost impossible for John to keep up and show every single one of those things as they're talking.
Question.
Yeah.
Follow-up question then. I just thought of this and I thought, I don't remember ever seeing anything that you put out on the YouTube. Best accident that someone had when showing you one of their builds. You know, I can imagine like them picking it and being, oh no, and grumble.
We have posted like once or twice some builds that have crashed. There was a crane build in particular I can think of that broke while we were interviewing the kid about it, and the whole thing, the whole is it the boom, whatever you call the part of the crane that sticks out the front, that whole part just collapsed forward. And that's on video, so we posted that. But
The best part of that video, Joshua, was you looking at the camera, looking at the build, you looking at the camera, you looking at the build, and like, what do I do quietly? You know,
there have been surprisingly very few things that have knocked over. I mean, the vast majority of the time, the build is just sitting there on the table, and so it'd be difficult for it to knock over. John, so I see Brick Snaps here. Shout out to Brick Snaps in the chat. Yep. John will occasionally knock over like
that picture's like Julian talking to his disciples right there. That's what it looks like. Spreading the good word. Just really pixelated.
They will come. That's awesome.
So John will occasionally knock over like a tree or something on someone's build, but it's pretty rare, especially these days with we used to have a wired mic and like a much bigger camera. And so it used to be a much more like cumbersome operation that we would do back in the old days. But now we've got a much smaller camera. We've got the wireless mic. And so it's very rare that we're knocking anything over on a build, being the consummate professionals that we strive to be. But if we do, people are always very nice about it. I will say one time, this was actually just at the last Bricks Cascade. So Bricks Cascade 2020, the last show right before everything shut down. There was a kid who had built our. So if anyone's seen our videos, there's that wall of bricks that collapses. The red and yellow bricks collapses at the beginning of every video, and the Brick Mania ad plays. So a kid had built that out of actual bricks, and he had even lined up every single red and yellow brick so it represented the intro exactly right. So everything was in the exact spot. And he brought it over to me to sign at the convention. But because he had built it in the way that the graphic looks, the bricks weren't interlocking. It was just stacks of bricks on top of each other. So structurally, it was not great. So he hands it to me and I start to sign in. The whole thing just falls apart, just completely crumbles all over the floor. And I felt very bad. Fortunately, I was able to finish signing it, and then he got it put back together, and it was like on display the next day. But that's been one of the worst things as far as stuff that we've broken, because that was a fan who was obviously a big enough fan to recreate perfectly brick for brick our intro, and then I broke it in front of him.
So all that was missing was the theme song. From the intro.
That's all true. If we had played that,
that's all that was missed.
Kirk, do you have any questions for Brian? Or not for Brian, for Joshua?
No.
This isn't about me.
I don't care about Brian. I don't want to talk to Brian. I don't.
Okay.
No, that's not true at all. I actually do care to talk to Brian. Anyhow, I really don't think I have any questions for Joshua. That may be weird. I feel like I spent, I guess, enough time due to quarantine and everything like that on the show and just getting to know between Joshua and Brian better just every Tuesday. I feel like I kind of have interacted enough to be able to know them more. So at this point, I feel like I'm more a part of the, I guess, Beyond the Brick team, where it's not like I'm an outsider, where it's like, okay,
Well, you got a
how do you do
t-shirt,
this? How do you, what happened?
You got a polo shirt, so you're on the team.
Well,
That's how it
yeah.
works.
So I feel like I'm at the point where it's
That's
like,
all it takes is a polo shirt.
Yeah, polo shirt with Beyond the Brick, maybe your little
Just get
name
a shirt and
scribbled
you're
on.
good to go.
It's a
Or
really
you
low
talk to
bar.
your friend Cody Otley and you get him to make you a T-shirt that says "The Brick."
You don't
Brian,
know
what,
how
what,
long.
what do you disagree with that?
No, it took you guys so long. You sent me to Toronto to tour the studio, and then you said to Mike, "Oh, yeah, have him give the shirt back. It's for Boone. He's over recording a national TV show." It took so long for me to get one of those polos. Me being 16 weeks in the quarantine cast.
I
You had to
remember.
prove yourself, before.
Hey, I don't blame you. I'm just saying.
I remember I did a few videos. The first was like some set announcement that we had. And then I think I did a few more. And then another one was like the vlog like edit for Brick World Chicago. And then it was time to go to Brick Fair, Virginia. You guys brought whatever stuff with you, and then you guys were like, here's the shirt. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And so I got to come back home with the shirt and I took the photo or whatever, and I was like, okay, I like this. I'm glad that I'm officially a part of it. Like that kind of meant something to me. So
But
yeah.
Kirk, doesn't that mean you're not your own boss, though? Didn't you do a commercial about being your own boss?
That's a whole nother story for like another day. It's I think the only reason like they were like, okay, let's interview him was because I brought that like mock that I made where it was basically a cabinet sort of thing for my Nintendo DSi that worked as an arcade machine, and everyone was so intrigued by it that they were like, we gotta interview this kid. I don't really think it was about like really just making the website. I think it was more so about the thing that I had, and they just really wanted to show it.
Just so you know,
they just really wanted to show it in the video.
For
So
that April Fool's stream, the April Fool's stream, it was entirely, I think, John's idea to toss that commercial in. Just so you know.
Yeah. I just got a
All
message
him.
from Jeff. Jeff was like, hey, yeah, I need this clip because Emily wants to see it or whatever. And I'm like, okay, sure. And then stream starts happening on April 1st, and we get towards the end, and I see the clip, and I'm like, so that's what that was about. I see.
Jeff betrayed me.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right, so Julian or Maddie, do you guys have any other questions?
No.
Awesome. All right, so Joshua, what's the game plan 5 years from now with Beyond the Brick? Are you gonna hang up the red shirt and just go be an archaeologist somewhere?
Wait. I do have one question. Hold the phone.
Okay. All right.
Joshua, I did not know that you're studying archaeology. I also studied archaeology.
Oh, that's awesome. So full disclosure, I'm not currently in school like Jeff was. So I graduated. For my undergrad, I studied history and archaeology. And I graduated, what was that, like 4 years ago now? And then for my master's degree, I did military history. So
interesting.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed, so part of my archaeology degree was I went over to Israel and worked on a dig for a month there.
Nice.
At
Archaeology, I can dig it.
Oh, that's so original. Thank you for that. What all have you done with archaeology? Have you worked in that industry, or did you just do that?
So my undergraduate it was like kind of like a split. It was biological and North American prehistory. So I wanted to do either forensic anthropology and study dead people, like actual dead bodies, or I wanted to do archaeology in the West. And I did get a scholarship to go to Northern Arizona State University for North American prehistory for graduate school and then go into their PhD program. But I declined it twice because they deferred it because I decided to teach English in Austria with the Fulbright. So they did that. So then that's another 180.
That's an awesome opportunity too, though. I mean,
it was really difficult. I was like, and then when I asked for a second deferment, they were like, well, what's going to happen next year? And I was like, I'm still going to be teaching in Austria. Like, any way you can defer it again? They're like, nope, you have to reapply. Like,
so then what did you pursue after that then? Did you just kind of forego the archaeology side of things then after that?
Yeah, then I did a master's in education and ended up doing that, I guess. Yeah. The end.
Gotcha.
But I still love archaeology. It's so much fun.
Yeah, no, it's such an underappreciated field. I feel like, and maybe I just, obviously coming from that, I'm sure there's some personal feelings there, but I don't think people appreciate nearly enough, the textbooks that you have in school or when you're reading a history book. So much of that information, even though it's not stated in there, we've gotten because of what archaeologists have done over the years. And that I don't think is appreciated nearly enough when you're just reading through a history textbook or reading a history book. So I think it's definitely something that I wish was more well known. I wish more people were familiar with what an archaeological dig is like and what the archaeologists do and how they operate. Because it's also a very scientific field, that it's not just digging randomly, in places around the world and hoping to find something interesting.
Right. Like forensic anthropology, I had to study a lot about decomposition and learn the whole human body and anatomy and, learn how chemical reactions happen in the body and stuff. There was a whole science aspect. There wasn't just, digging around, like what people think, digging around in dirt and hopefully finding an Indiana Jones.
Right, exactly. The image of Indiana Jones comes up, yeah.
When you guys were being archaeologists, how many Nazis did you have to fight?
That's a question.
There was a really unfortunate lack of Nazis to fight off at the dig I did. So it was disappointing, I have to say.
I guess a fortunate lack of Nazis to fight off in that case.
I could tell you guys a really weird story that happened in the bone lab that I was studying in.
Wait, are Nazis involved?
Well, it was an unsolved thing. So,
okay.
Okay, so here goes. So my anthropology teacher was like, "Hey, some of you guys want to come and hang out with me. I need to clean out my bone closet, all this stuff that I got from like the county, because the university is in the poorest county in the state. And so when people don't have enough money for a funeral, their body just gets whatever. And so sometimes the body just is donated to universities for study. And also police departments, when they have cases and people don't come claim the bodies and stuff, like, it's just donated, right? So she's like, come after class and you can help me clean out this closet. We need to go through things and catalog stuff. And she's like, it's just been smelling weird lately. I don't know what's going on in there. Like, I haven't opened up some of the boxes from the police department that I got. And we get to this one box and it's kind of like leaky, and we open it up and it just starts smelling really bad. And my friend pulls out the evidence bag, and it was a hand.
Oh, wow!
A full-on hand that was putrefied, and there was like red fingernails on it, and just the hand, and it said police evidence across it, and it was in like a style, like it was just really weird. And the thing that was weird about it was small. So then we cleaned it up, we articulated it, and then we figured out the age of the bones because there's still growth plates on the joints. And it was a 6-year-old girl's hand. And we're like, anthropology teacher, like, where did this hand come from? And she's like, according to this memo, somebody found it in the woods when they were on a hike. But nothing else was found, just the hand.
Well, so Joshua, where do you see beyond the brick in 5 years? We'll finish it off with a nice.
That's my.
Right.
So I have this story is not nearly as cool as that, but my bone finding story from my archaeological days. So the dig I worked at in Israel. So I was digging in the ancient Canaanite city of Gezer. It was about like 3,000 years old is the area I was digging in roughly, from that time period. So like 9th, 10th century BC stuff. And in the area I was digging, we found a dog skeleton. It's like the entire skeleton of someone's dog that presumably they just buried there at some point. Might have been someone's family dog. It's hard to know. One theory was that it was a hero Canaanite dog who had fought off the Egyptians because the Egyptians worship cats. And so this dog probably was a hero Canaanite dog in the war against the Egyptian cats, is our best guess from a very serious historical perspective.
That's all right. I like that.
Cool. That's pretty cool. You got to go to a really cool archaeological site on a side tangent. The only dig sites that I ever got to work on were in cornfields and in a cave. And we didn't find anything good except for a few arrowheads. I mean, still pretty cool, but like
no, yeah. So I will say, yeah, I think it's much more interesting to do archaeology in like Europe or say the Middle East, just because of the amount of history there. So you're only going to go back so many years in the U.S. I mean, there are some cool older sites, but yeah, I think the possibilities for finding more interesting things are definitely higher when you leave the US and go to some other parts of the world. So yeah, it was a great opportunity. It was specifically a teaching dig that I was on. And so everyone there was super helpful and super, patient with us, as me and then a lot of the other kind of college age students that were on the dig were figuring stuff out for the first time. So yeah. I really enjoyed it.
But you said there's not as many older sites in the United States. There are actually. I worked on the oldest site in North America, which was 5000 BC, and it was a Native American from, I forget the tribe name, but we found wooden posts and gravel, which indicated that they had some kind of structure put up, but it wasn't like finding a dog skeleton. I mean, it still was pretty exciting to find a house.
No, that's true. Yeah, and you're correct. Yeah, there definitely are some sites with very old stuff like that, but I guess in my mind, a lot of times it'll be like, Revolutionary War era colonials type stuff or something like that. So it doesn't tend to go back that far. But yeah, that's true. There is certainly some very old stuff.
When either one of you go to Machu Picchu, you better take me, or else you're gonna hear about it.
Oh, I don't want to go to Machu Picchu. I'm against going there, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Bricksmith, and I'll tell you why. It's being overrun by tourism, and they're picking up hundreds and hundreds of pounds of tourism garbage. Plus,
that's a shame.
Tourists aren't respecting the site. It's actually like a hugely significant, like religious or ceremonial site for the Aztecs, Mayans. I can't remember, but people are like climbing around on the site and ruining it. So it's what's happening to the pyramids in Giza as well.
I don't.
As much as I want to go there, I'd rather just look at it from a book, because I don't want to ruin that site and preserve it.
I honestly don't think I'll make it to the top anyway, because I know who I am, but I'd still want to go. I was talking about getting dropped by like a helicopter. I think that might actually
you should look at National Geographic. They have the 360.
Yeah, I've done all the things.
Oh, you've done
all the things. That's all right. That's the bucket list place.
I'm sorry, we just went on a tangent, and people in the comments are like, "I like Lego. Okay. I like Lego. Let's talk about Lego."
We got time. We got a time limit.
Oh boy,
time is limited.
So, no, that was fat. Thank you for sharing that. That was very interesting. I always love to hear more about experiences like that. So that's good. Good. I'm glad you still had an enjoyable experience teaching English, hopefully in Austria, even though you couldn't do the archaeological work.
Real quick, Jeff, I know that what it's going to take to wake up Josh on the next 24-hour stream at 4 a.m. is archaeological endeavors. We need to bring someone on dead middle of the night.
By the way, Josh, again, I'm not, I really enjoyed being on the 24-hour stream. I don't know if you remember being on there. I was there for 5 hours. I loved it, and it was more enjoyable than I really thought it was going to be. And it's not a slight on you. I usually 1 hour is my limit. But I sat there and was really digging it. And I made a good friend off there, Dave Morgan.
Oh yeah.
He's now my friend from your show. So thanks for Dave.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I love about the 24-hour live stream, because it's 24 hours straight. Yeah. Time zones don't really matter. Just people join from all over the place at all hours of the stream. So there's just so many different great people that join. And then, yeah, a lot of people who maybe didn't know each other previously are on at the same time. So they're getting to interact. And it's really cool. Yeah, that's why we, obviously there's the charity part of it, which is super awesome, but just the community aspect of it is also really neat.
Okay, think about this chain, Joshua. So had it not been for Bricksmith, then I wouldn't have known Dave.
There you go.
There it is.
It's
Boom,
like
boom, boom.
degrees of
If it wasn't for
connection.
Brian, I wouldn't know Julian.
Oh.
And if it wasn't for Kevin, I wouldn't know Brian.
And if it wasn't for
Oh,
Fazoon,
and Kirk's here too, I guess. Whatever. Hey, Kirk.
Brickblaze, I wouldn't have known Fazoon.
Kevin Hinkle's the catalyst of all
That's
this.
I think
true.
that's the linchpin and all
Hey,
of it.
Kevin has connected us up with like so many people over the years, been such a big help. So yeah, he was super. I always got to give a shout out to Kevin for his influence on Beyond the Brick over the years, because it was very helpful.
Never heard of
It's a
it.
shame what our favorite toy company is doing to him. Anyway,
Anyway,
Go support Kevin on Patreon.
go support him on Patreon.
Yeah,
everybody.
John.
So, Joshua, I wanted to thank you for being here and even coming on. I know that we're a little lowbrow for you.
Yeah, I had to check with my publicist and my marketing team and like my lawyers, just a whole lot of people before agreeing to come on here.
Or as you call her, mom.
Jesus.
You walked into that.
All right. So, so from everybody at the Pink Bucket Nation, from Kirk's phone, wear a mask. There's still a pandemic going on. Trans rights are human rights. Y'all have a nice night, and thank you very much for stopping by. Special shout out to Joshua and Brian and Kirk actually making it here on time for once. Well, except Brian, but that's okay.
I was
Bye,
here on
everybody.
time.
Bye.